Small business war stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes. Hey, lovers of small businesses and good stories in general. Welcome to Small Business War Stories. I'm your host, Pablo Fuentes. And today we are still doing our South by Southwest week. So we are interviewing this week. We're taking a break from our regular Wednesday episodes. We'll be back next week. And we are doing cool episodes that are very different every day with lots of different people that I'm coming across here at South by Southwest. And today's episode is with Kris Potrafka. And Kris is a great guy here in Austin. He is the founder of a company called Music Firsthand. And it's a company that helps people in their homes book professional musicians to come play private shows. And it's also helpful for musicians because it helps them book shows where they can make money and play. So he is at the intersection of a lot of the stuff going on here at South by Southwest, technology, music, and it was really cool to sit down and chat with him. This episode, like every episode of Small Business War Stories, is brought to you by Proven. Proven.com is the company I started, and it is a small business information hub where you can find answers and stories and all kinds of cool things about small businesses. And we also have a small business hiring tool. If you ever need to hire, you can post your job to Proven. We'll post it to many job boards, and you can collect all your applicants in one place. Check us out at Proven.com. But now it's time. It's time to hear what Kris had to say. Kris Potrafka of Music Firsthand in this special South by Southwest week in Austin, Texas with Small Business War Stories. And we are live here at South by Southwest in downtown Austin, Texas. And today I have the honor of sitting down here with Kris Potrafka, and Kris is the founder of Music Firsthand. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's cool to have you. So you are like Mr. South by Southwest in the sense that you are the intersection of a lot of things that are going on here. So Music Firsthand is so first of all, you are an emerging business, so you're a small business, so you're perfect for Small Business War Stories. But you're also a technology startup, and you're also involved with music.
That's right. Yep.
That's awesome. So real quick, what does Music Firsthand do?
We are a live music booking app, as well as we host a regular weekly show called Comedians Interviewing Musicians.
Okay.
So we do a little bit of promotion, but our core function here is we do live music booking, and it works much like Match.com and Airbnb for businesses as well as musicians to get them connected and put on a live show.
Okay. Very cool. You're doing a lot of stuff here. So you hosted a private show at your house a few days back, and I had the honor of being invited to that, so that was great. That was a cool show. What other things are you doing here at South by Southwest? So when you come into this, how do you think of it? There's so much. There are 100,000 people who come in here in a city of 1 million, and the actual people from Austin who are involved in some way in South by is probably a lot less than 1 million. It's probably somewhere like in the 200,000 range.
Yep.
So you're basically getting like a 50% influx or growth in people. So how do you think about how are you going to attack and find opportunities for what you want to do, given all the incredible amount of things going on?
Yeah, and it's a real challenge because you have to be really calculated in planning out your time here. Okay. This is my 6th South by. And I've definitely did it wrong the first several years. This year, I'm very strategic in making sure that I network with the right people, getting the right meetings set up. And you have to get these meetings set up actually months in advance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I never knew. And I've learned that over time that you send a note, what your schedule is, who you need to meet with. You get all that stuff coming into South by.
Yeah. So what are the right meetings are you looking for?
For me, it's mentoring as well as investors. That's really my target area. Last year, I spent a lot of time going to a lot of meetup groups, and it was more general getting feedback on our prototype. This year, I'm much more focused. I need to talk to people one-on-one to understand what is their advice for me as I start to grow the business, and then who are some investors who potentially might want to work with us down the road.
Got it. So what are the other events you're doing? So you did that event, that show in your backyard. What are the other things you told me the other day you were posted up? You have your own podcast. So what's the name of your podcast?
Yeah. Well, and it's a live Facebook Live
Okay.
every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. We do comedians interviewing musicians.
Yep.
And so we help promote the artist through that. And we have a couple comedians here in town from Esther Follies and other places that do the interviews.
Cool.
That's every Tuesday. But during South by, what's special about this year and very different than before is that we've booked a number of shows working with local businesses in town. And so we've got every night we've got multiple showcases going on across town that we've been responsible for curating and booking. And in addition to that, we are basically taking our live vodcast on the road, and we're doing this every day. We're kind of sitting up at different locations. Like we were at Spider House the other day. We've been at Esther Follies. We're going to be at Still Austin Whiskey on Saturday. Both hosting the show as well as doing interviews in the green room. So it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. So you're on the other side of the mic on that one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's sweet.
Yeah, and I'm trying to I've fired myself recently because I was hosting it myself, and then but I'm not naturally a comedian. But we wanted to get the show going, and now we do have a comedian that's actually doing the interviews.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you don't have a job. Actually, I haven't heard the ones that you did. I've heard some of the more recent ones.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I'm sure you're selling yourself short. So you say this is your 6th South by?
That's right. Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen at South by Southwest?
Oh, wow. Let's see. Justin Timberlake, that was one of the craziest things. We just kind of walked into a show and he had.
Okay.
But, that was the early days. I was working for iHeartMedia, so I had a lot more access then as well. So that was one of the funnest things. But then anytime you go on 6th Street during South by, it's Mardi Gras.
It's complete chaos.
For college kids. Yeah, it's just complete chaos. So you see some pretty crazy stuff there, and you really don't know who you're going to bump into, right? There's always Bill Murray sightings, so you're always watching over your shoulder for Bill Murray.
That's what I hear. I saw the other day somebody had South by Southwest bingo that they posted on Facebook, and that's one of the things. That's one of the items there, seeing Bill Murray.
That's right. And and this year they launched a film about this mythology of Bill Murray sightings.
That is pretty funny.
I know,
and
right?
that was a film that was shown here at South by?
That's right, yeah. That's the cool part, too, is you bump into all sorts of celebrities because there's film and there's gaming and there's interactive, there's music going on. It helps you, at least for me as a business, expand into different industries as well with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to people that are in the film business about, how can we collaborate together, right? I'm talking to people into technology, of course, music. So that's been really helpful for the collaboration.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit from the perspective of being a small business owner yourself. How do you look at, so when I've spoken to people around the country, some people are more willing or prone to go to conferences or these kinds of meetings than others. How do you think about the return for your business? So how do you, because you have a platinum badge there, it looks very shiny. I don't have a platinum badge. It's kind of blinding. That's an investment, and so is your time, and so is I'm sure that there are a lot of other moving pieces. That concert wasn't free that you did. Mm-hmm. How do you calculate? How do you think about, is this going to be worth it for my business? And because this is something that comes up a lot with folks.
Yeah, man, there's no great answer. It's a struggle every year, and this year I actually waited until last minute until I got accepted as a startup spotlight. Okay. Yeah, I really don't know that I would have invested, because I've also learned that, like with South by, you can be a pretty savvy small business owner or a startup, find your way here into all these other shows that are free and not even pay for a badge.
Yeah, I'm not even paying for a badge. Or a wristband, actually.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's ways to be really clever about it and connect with people who do have badges that can even get you into other things. So that would be some of my advice to a startup or small business owner.
Yeah.
And this year, I think the only reason I went ahead and made the plunge was we got accepted. We're a startup spotlight. We present tomorrow to investors and other people interested. Thank you. So that made the big push. And it does open up some doors. Like when particularly if I approach a speaker after a panel who's a big industry bigwig and they see that I've got a badge, they're more likely to sit down and talk to me.
Is that right? You've seen that makes a difference?
Yeah, I actually met one of the best introductions I've had was Martin Atkins, who used to be the drummer for Public Image. Okay. And now he's a professor in Chicago. He's written several books. He's a big mover and shaker in the industry. He helped me connect to one of my advisory board members. So he's really opened up doors for me. Like that, meeting him was worth the badge alone, in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, that's the way I think about it. I always think when you go to these conferences, about 2 to 3 either valuable meetings or insights.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I kind of have learned how to measure it. It's like if you get 2 or 3 like really key introductions or insights, then it's a win.
That's right. Yeah, and that's why it just takes time. I know the first few years that I came here and had the badge, I did not use it wisely. It wasn't a good investment. But now
what did you do? You just went to all the open bars on 6th Street?
Yeah, pretty much. Found myself down there. You do get pulled into a lot of friends pulling you into stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I just went to a lot of panels that weren't as effective as they could have been. And 2, I was not aggressive enough in talking to the panel speakers afterwards.
Okay.
And I also learned a trick that's turned out to be pretty helpful is if you go to the book signings and you might spend an extra $20 on a book, you can get some time with that author.
It's much more likely that they'll talk to you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, actually. That's a really interesting insight that in a lot of times when you go to these conferences, there's this whole sharp elbow thing, right? There are 25 people, one person. Sometimes they do it in the corner of the room. They just present it. Sometimes there's no room. They go outside. What are the ways in which, so the one tip you gave about buying the book and talking to them, that's a really good insight. But then there's this really, I would say, delicate line between being persistent and annoying, right? And like trying to figure out how do you talk to this person within the context of them having a lot of demands on their time. How do you think about that?
Yeah. I think some of the techniques that have worked well for me, and this is going to come across sounding bad because I think there's a pejorative sense to it, is I've had to name drop sometimes. So I have gone up to somebody and been able to say like, hey, last year or such and such I met with Martin Atkins and he really likes what I'm doing.
Okay.
Would love to show you. And they're usually like, oh, well, if he likes it, then let's sit down and talk.
Interesting. Related to that, what I found effective too is for some reason, if you know somebody in common.
Yes, that's right.
Right. So I was actually Billy Gibbons from CZ Top was at on New Year's Day at a shop, and there's a guy who was a guest on the podcast actually, Matt Ike, the most popular episode of all time, who makes meal resonators in Michigan, and Matt had just met Billy and posted about it on Instagram and so forth. So I knew the backstory, and I was like, hey, I saw Matt, that's cool, and then that got the conversation started. Which led to me talking to Billy Gibbons for 5 minutes and him taking a selfie of us, and that was a good time,
But that helps.
Yeah, it helps to have that triangulated.
That's right. And I do my homework as far as if I'm really, like I mentioned earlier, I do my homework way in advance, and so I also will make sure I check out everybody's LinkedIn profiles, their bios. So for example, I was able to get time today with someone who's very difficult to get to, but I found out that 10 years ago, we both worked at the same company, so we were alumni.
There you go.
So I came up and said, hey, we're alumni here, and that opened up a whole bunch of doors to, do you know who, and such and such and such and such, and then we said, great, let's grab a coffee.
Yeah.
Never would have happened had I not done that homework.
Makes sense. Can you think of any horror stories, like things that you've seen go real wrong, or for you or for other people, and throw them under the bus without throwing them under the bus when South by?
Well, I don't know if there wouldn't be any individual, but I would say one thing I haven't seen it be effective is sometimes you'll be in a large panel and then they open up the mics for the audience conversation.
Yeah.
And it's not my technique, maybe it works, but I do see some people who go up to take the mic and they use that forum as an opportunity to try to impress or pitch or something.
Right.
I just see that backfire every time.
Is that right? Tell me more. What have you seen?
I don't know. Well, I can tell you yesterday, I went to Tracy Morgan's new movie. He's got our new show coming out called The Last OG, which looks hilarious. But afterwards, they had a panel, and it was mostly film people that were there. And for me, I was taking a bit of a break from the music, so I went and saw the screening, and Tracy Morgan came out. But
sure.
There were a couple questions that got asked that almost got controversial, like because they were trying to really demonstrate their knowledge and relate to Tracy, and Tracy, wasn't having it. And I knew afterwards, like, wow, that guy's never going to get that conversation.
What do you mean wasn't having it? How was he reacting?
The questions were, it was bringing up questions of race, right? Because the new TV show plays into race a lot, and it's about gentrification, the new TV show, and it's a funny spin on it, but then the people getting up were being overly dramatic and serious about it, and just didn't get it.
Yeah, it didn't strike the right tone.
And it really backfired.
But it could work if the person did have the right tone.
Yeah, it could, absolutely, yeah.
It's a risk.
Got their attention, but
you gotta take some risks.
My advice would be doing that privately. Right?
Instead of getting up and on some sort of soapbox with 100 people.
Yeah, because you're getting judged by all the sighs and the ahs and everybody else in the room, and the speaker's seeing that and kind of going, "What's going on here?" I mean,
that's really interesting.
You asked me to share some bad experiences.
Yeah, no, that's really good. This is what else you got? This is some good insights, some good tips about conference going.
I did have one bad one, my personal experience too, and it was during a book signing, and I went after it all wrong. I went up and just over pitched.
Oh yeah,
I was so excited to meet this
let's
guy.
talk about that. Who was it? Can you say it?
Yeah, it was Ari Herstad, I think, who's a very, very popular, well-known musician, but a blogger and author. Yeah, and I went in way too aggressive.
Yeah, what did you do? Just coming in hot?
Yeah, and like, hey, you're trying to pitch on my idea, and I was so excited about it. And I'd had success from like Martin and some other folks who'd written books. And he was like, literally looked at me like, "You're nuts." And I knew right then. I was like, "Great, thanks for your time." And I just walked off. Was like, never followed up. I need to do that, but it was embarrassing.
Well, I don't know. I would say if nobody ever, kind of like looks at you like you're nuts, then you're probably not trying hard enough, right?
That's true. Yeah. It definitely was. It was one of those like, okay, this isn't the place to do this, but it was fine.
Okay, all right, that's cool. Going back to your business, what's the so how long has Music Firsthand been in business? I mean, including all the name changes and all that.
Yeah. So. Okay. Sure. I've been at it for 2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
And you're now starting to see, I mean, I've seen like your guys' presence in social media really growing, and you see your bookings have been going up as well.
That's right.
And that's fantastic. Are you guys still only in Austin?
Yeah, we're only in Austin. We'll probably, our expectation is to stay here for another year. We really want to make sure it's fine-tuned and humming here. And we've been doing a blend of a concierge service and using the app.
Okay.
And we're about to ready to move into full-blown app because it's working. It's still in private beta. We've been slowly putting customers on it as we work out the bugs. But
and you want to be a marketplace that crosses a transaction. If you're a homeowner or somebody who wants to have people play at an event, you're on one side of the marketplace. And if you're a musician or performer, you're on the other side, right?
That's right. Our core customer are businesses that don't have full-time bookers. That's our core customer. Okay. Like today we work with HomeAway. We work with a number of wineries. We work with breweries in town. It's these folks who just don't have time to try to manage a business, right? Like a lot of your listeners, they're very busy, but if they want to do a big sales event.
And for the other side too, right? For musicians, like for my stuff, I book all my own shows. I don't have like a booking agent. Some people do.
Yep.
And
that's great for you.
I'm going to be a guest in your podcast. What did we say? April
17th.
April 17th.
That's
We're
right.
doing it.
Yeah. We get
comedians interviewing musicians.
That's right. We get to see the musician side.
The musician side of me. That's a different side of me.
But yeah, that's right. It's helpful for the musicians as well because it has a DIY booking component.
Yeah.
And I think the really cool part that no one is doing is it opens up the door for you to find businesses that connect with your brand and your style.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is the number one lesson that you've learned these last 2 years? I know you and I met almost 2 years ago, actually. This has been about a year and a half. So I met you very early on. I've seen you, grow into yourself and your confidence, your execution, like all your success, which is awesome to see. What's the number one lesson that you've learned in this journey so far? Knowing that it's probably not going to be the last lesson.
No, it shouldn't be. Yeah, but I think I look back and think this has taken a year longer than I thought it would. Yeah. And I think because my first year was me shedding my old corporate skin.
Yeah.
Everything I went after, because I have 20 years experience in corporate, and I was an executive in corporate, and I was just approaching with the corporate mindset. I was putting in place too much like process and approached it like a project. And I finally started shedding all that and just getting really, really focused on the customer and on my product. Okay. I'm spending less time on, just too much stuff that you do in corporate, like slide decks and pitch decks.
Let's talk about that because that's something that a lot of people who make the plunge or take the plunge. Yeah, take the plunge. ESL, something. Take the plunge into being on their own. They have these patterns and these things that people have told you for a long time are expected and are good, and that's not always the case, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What are some of those things? So a lot of PowerPoint. And
a lot of PowerPoint. We were, for example, I had early on, I had a couple other people that were trying to join the team, and they made it for about 6 months. They just couldn't hang around because we had no revenue and no income. They just weren't into the startup mentality. They didn't get the grind that we needed to do. Yep. But I was also a horrible leader, so I was having them put together, for example, I thought we need to have clear checklists for our host, clear checklists for our musicians for when they do a show.
I actually kind of like that. I use checklists for everything.
Yeah, I do too, but it wasn't the right place for us at the time when we didn't even have a real product. We should have been focusing there. That was great if we wanted to be a service to these artists. I'll send you those checklists, by the way. You might be able to use them.
Oh yeah,
So
no,
you
I
dust
love it.
them
Yeah,
off.
I have checklists for all my shows.
Yeah.
I have a checklist for my podcast, and I have a checklist for when
Yeah.
I play music.
Yep.
I have two different types of. One is like a more like smaller venue open mic checklist, and I
Yeah.
have a bigger one for all the big rig when like multiple amps and shit.
Yeah. And those are all valuable. And I kept thinking, well, let's provide these things. And that's just one example of that's more of a corporate big mentality in
Yeah.
the sense of no, I needed to focus on what is the getting our app built, getting the site built.
That's awesome.
We also made a pretty big mistake. I lost about 6 months because I got convinced that we needed to have a really simple website up first as kind of our minimum viable product. And we started going down that path. I invested a bunch of money into it, and it was horrible. I mean, it was like,
Really? That wasn't me that advised you to do that, was it?
No, I don't think so.
God. All right.
Let me say this, because we have a great web developer. The site itself and the work that was done was great.
Yeah.
It was a horrible decision because it didn't resonate with our customers. The advisory board looked at it and kind of said, this doesn't fit their expectation and what they need to have and how it needs to work.
Yeah.
So I lost a bunch of money and time there too. So
Welcome to the game, man. I'm
I
in
know.
year 9, and I'm still, I still make those kind of stupid mistakes.
yeah, there you
And
go.
a lot of them are not necessarily stupid. They're things that are reasonable things to try that just don't work out.
Yes.
And a lot
That's
of
right.
it, you just get up again and keep going.
Yeah, I have had. That's one thing I would say that I'm proud of is that I went into it with an approach of, experiment and move on.
Yeah.
And when I was in corporate, I had more of an entrepreneurial spirit, even inside a corporate world with all the restrictions. So that's done me well. Is I've just experimented, made mistakes, and just move on. It's kind of
awesome.
like and I always look at it like an athlete. You think you can't be thinking about that last play. You just you got to move on.
Yeah. If you think about the interception, there's no way you're throwing
That's
a touchdown for the next one.
Yeah.
Love it. Where can people find you? So where can people find your app? What is your Twitter handle? Where can people connect?
So musicfirsthand.live
Okay.
is where you can sign up to get the app if you're in the Austin area. You sign up to our private beta, and we'll send you the link to get it. It's available both on Android as well as iOS. And then we're going to start working on a web-based version here soon. And then you can follow us on social media at Music Firsthand. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Kris. I know you got a lot going on, and thank you for taking the time to come into a room here and share some of your South by Southwest experiences.
Sure, yeah. Hope folks will reach out. Thanks.
Sounds good. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Small Business War Stories. If you enjoy the show, share it with a friend, or you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or on our blog at blog.proven.com. If you have an idea for us, we'd love to hear it. Please email us at podcast@proven.com. See you next time. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes.